I always feel like sometimes it might be harder for our youth in this day and age with, the availability of the vape and the drugs and the alcohol and porn and the vices of the world really, really affecting the well-being of our young people. It's affecting the well-being of everyone, in fairness. If you look at how much alcohol we consume as a nation in relation to the world, vices always seem to go hand in hand with poverty, right? There's always some form of numbing that needs to happen for people to cope with the desperateness of their situation. And certainly from a youth point of view, I'm always concerned about whether our youth are strong enough to overcome the force of the vices that plague us at the moment. What has that relationship with these vices been like for you growing up in this day and age?
Well, I grew up in an environment where alcohol was a norm, right? So in my town, people would go out to clubs and bars on weekends, and that was their hanging out. It was consuming alcohol. And when people go and they consume alcohol, they want to forget about something, right? But that really never has been me. I don't want to forget. I want to be in touch, and I want to know what's happening, and I want to feel. And I think that is what alcohol makes you lose. It makes you lose feeling. It makes you lose touch of reality. It makes you numb, like you've said, and you lose sight to what is really important. Whether that be, hanging out with friends, because that's what we need to do. We need to hang out with friends. We don't need to hang out and drink alcohol, because then
you lose the connection.
You lose
right?
the connection, and you establish an addiction, right? Which is the worst part. So I think we need to hold institutions very much accountable for advertising and for creating this idea that we need alcohol as a medium to have fun, when in reality we don't need any substance to have fun and to connect with other human beings.
Absolutely. When we are children, the joy of being a child is that freedom of spirit, right? That freedom of self-expression and spirit. And you will remember quite recently that you can be absolutely yourself, childlike, play, laugh, dance, jump, sing, scream, express yourself in a way that isn't judged when you're a child. And then somehow the world teaches you that in order to have that level of freedom, self-expression, and feel that exhilaration and that joy, it can only then come from some kind of substance. And yes, I 100% agree with you. Our culture and our system teaches everyone, and more especially grooms the youth into making these things look sexy and appealing and culturally very with it, right? If you're seen with a vape in your hand, or if you're seen with this particular glass of this particular alcohol that has some symbolism. But I want to just talk for a moment about just the process of, one, its habit, its culture, its cool, its availability, it's all of these things. But on another hand, it's also our youth wanting to escape a lot of the pain and difficult emotions that they are dealing with. There's no doubt that our young people today face tremendous emotional challenge, whether it's in relationship with their parents, or dysfunction within the home, or trauma, or just difficulty in tackling life in general, or if it's that you're coming into the workplace and there's high levels of unemployment and you can't get a job. The stresses on our youth are enormous. So it seems to me like there's almost a disconnect in us not sufficiently and adequately teaching young people how to hold capacity for their varying emotions. Really, especially with men who aren't, and young boys aren't allowed to feel, right? Or express themselves, or have emotions, or cry, because you're a girl if you cry, whatever that means. The labels that get put on you for feeling anything at all. As human beings in general, we're taught not to have certain feelings because certain feelings are bad. You're not allowed to say that you are sad. You're not allowed to say that you feel heartbroken. You're not allowed to say that you feel vulnerable, exposed, weak, because these things are associated with those concepts of weakness and those stereotypes. To be human is to have emotions. Comes with intrinsically a part of your humanity. And when we don't learn to connect with that vital part of our energy body, which is our emotional body, and we disconnect from it, or we try to numb aspects of it because we aren't comfortable with how certain emotions feel or sit within the body, that puts us at a huge disadvantage. From a socio-political point of view, it's also one of the levers that the Matrix uses to keep us controlled, right? And if you are numb, and if you are seeking vices, and if you aren't able to regulate your emotions, or you aren't aware of your emotional body, again, you're easier for me to control. You're easier for me to exploit, sell things to get you to buy into my propaganda, and so on. So it just makes you more controllable. And the sad reality is that people are losing their lives, their way, their love, their connectedness with self by falling into the trap of the system from the vices point of view. How do you say no to the vices when they're in your face 24/7, in all social circles and everywhere you go? And it is the only way to be accepted is by embracing one of those vices in today's world. Otherwise, you are ostracized, picked on, laughed at, mocked. How do you break away from that? How do you find the courage to say no to that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think it comes down to the type of environment we grow up in. Like we talked about earlier, when we have institutions and businesses pushing these narratives and ideas of society or what it should look like down our throats from a very young age, and we see our friends and family and parents drink and smoke, it does seem acceptable to us.
The normal, right?
It does seem normal.
Mm.
It creates a kind of comfort around it, and that is what we need to break. We need to know that these things are not healthy, and we don't need to use them. At the end of the day, every person should have the right to choose what they do with themselves, but we should try and create and foster communities and environments where people are conscious about their health and they want to be around long enough to make a positive impact, because it's not always just about your own health. It's about what these substances do to the people around you. So alcohol is very destructive. When you look at what happens statistically, according to science and research, males get more aggressive when they use alcohol and they get more violent towards females.
Exactly.
Not just emotionally, but physically, sometimes sexually. It's a justification to sometimes take advantage of women. And I think really that's why we need to create boundaries around how we view it, because we've demonized things like marijuana and things that help people,
or even certain psychedelics. Yes.
but we've glorified alcohol, which is literally a metabolic poison.
Yes.
Which is what the science shows. It kills you, it poisons you.
Poisons you. This is a huge conscientizing exercise. It's an educational exercise, but we learn as the young people learn from the behavior that they witness. Again, it brings back that energy of saying, how do you question a system that looks so normal, where everyone around you is doing it, where drugs are now so pervasive and so readily available in our society that it creates dependency and addiction that you then can't unplug yourself from, even when you realize that you might want to, right? And then it becomes so difficult and impossible for you to let go of the substance that you've now become dependent on. For a lot of the people who choose to succumb to these vices, and it isn't easy, is that you have to recognize what is it within you that drove you to go there in the first place. And you can stay in a numb space forever. And you're right, it is every soul's choice to choose that path as a way to live, because that's also your soul's way of learning by default through pain and through the experiences that numbing agent is going to teach you. But it doesn't really help you to be present in life, to be present and to also stay connected with those authentic feelings of joy and, freedom and exhilaration that it's giving you. It's usually a temporary false kind of high. It's not natural. And in most instances, it's forgotten or it's blocked out because you blank out from after using it. Is it really having the positive impact on your life that you think it is? How much are you lying to yourself about your relationship with that substance? And how much control have you given away to that substance and the people who are using that substance as a lever to control you, right? And one has to have incredible personal conviction and once again go to that place of truly knowing, who am I, why am I here, and am I just being, pulled by the wind to just do what the masses are doing in many senses, or am I going to find the strength to resist? Where does that strength come from? Where do you think that strength comes from for somebody who acknowledges that I want something different for my life?
Yeah, I think that strength comes from the fact that I want something different, not just for my life, but for the people around me.
For the people you love, yeah.
And for the people that come after me. So as a person who, I've built my life on not believing in the idea that I'll be going somewhere after I die. So to me, there's a kind of urgency,
yes,
to doing something in this life. And we should escape this mentality of the savior mentality, because no one's coming to save us, right? There's no white figure on a white horse on his way to Africa going to save Africa. Africa will be saved, but it will only be by Africans. And it will be, if you want saving, you need to save yourself. And we need to acknowledge that urgency, because if we keep saying tomorrow or the day after, poverty is not kind and it doesn't wait. And hunger isn't kind, it doesn't wait. So it's important to address them now.
One of the things that you said that I think is very powerful, Pieter, the power and the importance that you place on not just doing something to improve yourself or for the betterment of yourself, but to improve your community and humanity. So your worldview is constantly from the perspective of shaping the world you find yourself in. That is a powerful takeaway, and I'll tell you why. So many of us are born in this life with the narrow tunnel vision of me, myself, I. And it comes from a survival mentality, right? Or it comes from what you've been taught or how you've seen the world operate, or if you've seen that most of the world is for themselves. You'll often hear people say this, people are just for themselves. They don't care about you. You got to look out for yourself type of thing. What that belief system does, and it's a belief that you can change, but what that belief system does is it keeps you, number one, very isolated and disconnected from the whole, humanity and community. And it's part of, strongly I believe, one of the intentional plans of the Matrix to keep us disintegrated. Because for so long as I can keep you feeling alone, isolated, disconnected, disenfranchised, and not part of a community, a whole, a people, a humanity, once again, the more easily I can control you. But secondly, in feeling that way, you feel powerless. You feel less motivated. You believe the lie that you can't achieve certain dreams or achieve certain things. Because to do something on your own, completely isolated and alone, is so much harder than knowing you have a whole rally of souls supporting you in your mission on whatever it is you want to become or achieve in this life.